From pandemics to politics, the tenure of Donald Trump as the 45th President of the United States has been nothing short of tumultuous. His time in office has sparked a myriad of debates, controversies and criticisms that have left an indelible mark on the political landscape of the country. Why does Donald Trump stir so much controversy? To understand this, we need to delve into the various facets of his presidency and the decisions that have led to widespread criticism. First off, the COVID-19 pandemic. Critics argue Trump's response was slow and inadequate, contributing to the high number of cases and deaths in the US. His administration's handling of the pandemic has been described as chaotic and uncoordinated, with mixed messages and conflicting information being disseminated to the public. The lack of a cohesive national strategy, delays in testing and downplaying the severity of the virus are just a few points of contention. Then there's the impeachments. Yep, plural, Trump was impeached twice. The first impeachment in 2019 was for abuse of power and obstruction of Congress. This stemmed from allegations that he solicited foreign interference in the 2020 US presidential election to help his re-election bid. The second impeachment in 2021 was for incitement of insurrection following the Capitol riot. The events of January 6, 2021, where a mob of Trump supporters stormed the US Capitol, were a direct result of his repeated claims of a stolen election. Speaking of which, many hold him responsible for the January 6th storming of the US Capitol, believing his rhetoric incited the violence. His refusal to concede the election and his inflammatory speeches are seen as catalysts for the unprecedented attack on the heart of American democracy. The Capitol riot not only led to deaths and injuries, but also left a deep scar on the nation's psyche. It raised questions about the strength and resilience of American democratic institutions. Trump's rhetoric and behavior have also been under fire. His divisive and inflammatory remarks, especially on Twitter, are said to have exacerbated political polarization and social tensions. His use of social media to attack opponents, spread misinformation, and rally his base has been unprecedented. His rhetoric often targeted minorities, immigrants, and political adversaries, creating an atmosphere of hostility and division. The impact of his words extended beyond politics, influencing social dynamics and public discourse. Trump's divisive and inflammatory remarks, especially on Twitter, are said to have exacerbated political polarization and social tensions. His tweets often sparked outrage and controversy, leading to widespread debates about the role of social media in modern politics. The polarization was evident in the numerous protests and counter-protests that took place during his presidency. The country seemed more divided than ever, with deep-seated ideological differences coming to the forefront. And let's not forget immigration policies. His administration's hardline stance, including the travel ban on predominantly Muslim countries and family separations at the US-Mexico border, drew significant backlash. These policies were seen as draconian and inhumane by many. The travel ban, often referred to as the Muslim ban, was criticized for being discriminatory and for targeting specific religious groups. It faced numerous legal challenges and was a point of contention throughout his presidency. The family separations at the US-Mexico border, where children were separated from their parents, sparked outrage both domestically and internationally. The images of children in detention centers became a symbol of the administration's harsh immigration policies. Environmental policies. Trump rolled back numerous regulations, which critics argue weaken protections for air, water, and endangered species, undermining efforts to combat climate change. His administration prioritized economic growth over environmental conservation. The rollbacks included withdrawing from the Paris Agreement, loosening restrictions on emissions, and opening up protected lands for drilling and mining. These actions were seen as a step backward in the global fight against climate change. Environmentalists and scientists warned that these policies would have long-term detrimental effects on the planet. The disregard for scientific consensus on climate change was a major point of criticism. On the international front, Trump's unpredictable foreign policy and strained relationships with traditional allies were criticized for undermining global alliances and stability. His America First approach often alienated long-standing partners and created uncertainty on the global stage. His interactions with world leaders were often marked by controversy, whether it was his cozying up to authoritarian figures or his public spats with allies. The withdrawal from international agreements and organizations further isolated the US from the global community. Lastly, economic inequality. While the economy grew during much of his presidency, critics argue his tax cuts primarily benefited the wealthy and corporations, increasing the gap between rich and poor. The benefits of economic growth were not evenly distributed. The tax cuts, part of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017, were touted as a means to stimulate the economy. However, the majority of the benefits went to the top income earners and large corporations, leading to concerns about increasing economic disparity. The growing divide between the wealthy and the poor became more pronounced, with many Americans feeling left behind. The lack of significant wage growth for the middle and lower classes added to the sense of economic injustice. So there you have it. From pandemics to politics, these are just some reasons why Donald Trump faces so much backlash. His presidency was marked by a series of contentious decisions and actions that have left a lasting impact on the nation. From his handling of the COVID-19 pandemic to his immigration policies, environmental rollbacks and foreign policy decisions, Trump's time in office was anything but ordinary. The controversies and criticisms that surrounded him continue to shape the political discourse in the United States. Drop your thoughts in the comments below.